Hod called out Much's name, but Much did not seem to hear, instead stumbling forward and back, eyes pleading helplessly with him and John. Then he collapsed. In that instant, Little John reached over, grabbed Hod by the quiver strap and yanked him aside just as the second knight's blade sprang the distance. He wasn't quite quick enough. The impossible blade slashed straight through Hod's side instead of his middle, gone again so fast it all seemed an illusion. The blade extended from the knight's hand like a normal sword, and now it too was soaking up the blood that stained it. Hod's blood. Little John let go of him, aimed and shot the prelate in the back. The jolt flung the mitre from the priest's head, and he staggered in a circle, clutching at the arrow driven through him. Both knights turned to him. The prelate wheezed, raised an arm as if about to bless or curse Hod. Then a weird mist of red blood burst through his sackcloth cloak, and his face seemed to ooze from his head. John took this in as he charged the nearest knight before the fellow could direct his magical blade again. He hammered a fist against the crusader's pot helm hard as he could, and an unusual thing happened. Instead of falling off, the helmet retreated into the brigandine like a snail drawing into its shell, as if it was a soft guard core and not solid at all. It revealed a long, spiky and coarse grey face surrounded by silvery hair. The knight stumbled and went down on one knee. John stepped past him and grabbed the strap of the satchel from the melting, collapsing corpse of the prelate as the second knight turned from Much's body, sword arm extended. That was when Hod's arrow pierced the knight's wrist, and the magical sword fell out of his grasp. Otherwise John would have been skewered. The spiky-faced knight started to rise, and John clubbed him down again, a blow that should have shattered his neck. Behind him, Hod cried, "Take it! Run, John!" Little John needed no further urging. He hurled himself into the woods, through the trees on a path they all knew to use. But when he looked back, Hod wasn't behind him. Two other figures were. If they were the knights, they'd transformed into white-haired, greenish-grey-faced demons, sheathed now in strange black armor that gleamed like steel but hugged them like full-body hauberks. The one in front carried one of the weirdly gleaming swords. The one in back clutched its wrist. Their running was jerky, as if they'd never done it before. Dodging ahead, he dared another glance just as the flashing blade shot forward. He leapt, almost kicking his heels together, and the blade stabbed into the ground beside him, then as quickly snapped back. John picked up his speed and raced away through the forest, into a landscape he knew from a lifetime of thieving and outwitting pursuit. What were these creatures? Devils they must be, guarding a prelate who'd melted. Had he actually witnessed that? He could only hope that Robert Hod had fled in the other direction and made good his escape, because whatever was in this old satchel he'd snatched, the knights had both come after it. A king's ransom at the very least, he imagined. It had cost poor Much his life. What had they all blundered into?